Almost live with Bob and Kevin. And we want to thank you very much for joining us. Of course, every week, Bob and I get together and we kibitz, we share our thoughts, we plug our stuff. Basically, on all of our stuff is we're doing seminars all across the country,
Hmm.
crazy busy, and we give you all the information that you get at seminars here. The difference is that when we do a seminar, everything is customized for you and for your school and for your promotion. So we talk about some of the information here, but we go to it in depth and
Right.
personalize it for you when we do these seminars. Is that a fair assessment, Bob?
That's a very fair assessment. I think we can, you can tell people what to do, but, and, even show them a little bit of the how to do it in a general sense. But really, the best way to do it, the best way to have us really transform your operation or yourself is to deal with us on, have us in, have us do our thing at your school, at your promotion. Just came back from Vancouver Island last
Amazing.
week. What a great trip. What a gorgeous area, obviously. And
Yep.
then see that one of the things I've had to explain to people that I was not aware of until recently was that Vancouver, the city in Canada, in the province of oh, help me. All of a sudden I forgot. British
British
Columbia. There
Columbia.
we go. Thank you. Jeez. So there's Vancouver, which has about 3 million people. And then there's an island called Vancouver Island, which is kind of its own thing and its own region. And that has about 850 to 900,000 people. And they're two very distinct things. You have to take a ferry to get there. There's water and a boat, but there's no way to drive there. So if you want to go there, you drive your car right onto the ferry. Very cool. I've done that before, but it was really fun. And then take about an hour and a half. Beautiful ferry, nice people, good operation, and then you get off and you can drive around, and it's like going from one land to the next. And all the good people, BJ Laredo and his family and his whole crew at Vancouver Island, VIPW, did a great job. They must have drawn close to 700 people over two shows. And they have their big show, WrestleFest 2, coming up June 27th. So I will plug something outside, but since they're family now, we have to help the family.
Yeah, of
And
course.
you're very good. Your friend, one of your mentees, Layla Hirsch, will be there.
Oh, so
And
great.
yes, and several of the, I guess, I was learning about the history. Several of the island legends are coming back. Some people that haven't wrestled there in a long time, they're returning, and people were really excited about that. And they are full blast June 27th. They have roughly a 3,000 seat building they have to fill, might even be a little bit bigger. And I know last year they did about 2,000, and their goal this year is to get to 2,500. I told the crowd I want to get to 3,000 this year.
Right.
So hopefully my encouragement will, I don't know if it'll sell an extra 500 tickets, but at least make people aware. So great time there. Please check it out. VIPW, Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling. Check them out, support them. Great operation, good production, really good production, nice and great people. I was
The
very
video that you showed me, it looked top notch, like really well organized and a good time, a good mix of older fans, younger fans, a little bit of everybody, a real sense of community.
yes.
And, it looked fun. I got a question. I didn't ask you this, and I just thought of
Okay.
it now.
What's
So
up?
back in the day,
Yep.
one of the 27 territories that was in existence was Vancouver.
Yes.
And of course, man, very influential in your career. One of your trainers, Jeff Costa, who was directly trained by Killer Kowalski.
Yep.
He wrestled in Vancouver for quite a
Yes.
while.
Yes.
Did he
Met his
wrestle
wife
on
there actually.
did he wrestle on Vancouver Island? Like, was Vancouver Island part of the territory, or was it a separate thing?
That's interesting. I'll have to ask him because it was never mentioned to me directly. There's been wrestling on and off on the island forever. So it's and it's a big area. It's not like it's some little tiny place. Again, it has almost a million
Yeah.
people population, big retirement population. 21% of the people there are of retirement age. It's the retirement destination too. And
Sure.
when I was there, I could figure out why. It's kind of got that small town feel. It has all the corporate stuff too. And I mean, it has Walmarts and the stores, Toys R Us, which is cool. I always love to go into Toys R Us when I go to Canada because there's still a thing. They still had malls. There was a very busy mall with an awesome food court. Holy cow!
Ooh.
Just a little bit. I had pho at the food court, which was awesome. So, yes, and but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Lines out the door, as you said, as you saw. Um, here's another little thing I wanted to I'll help our promotions sell about 50% more merchandise and probably more food too, is they had their stuff lined up where they had stuff in kind of a semicircle, not a semicircle, but a big long line, and you had to go buy all the merchandise, not purchase, not BY. You had to pass by all the merchandise to get to the food. It was impossible to go to the food unless you cut everybody in line and went to the front without passing all the merchandise. And everybody
Right.
there did numbers. Everybody there made money. Some made more than others. I did very well, and I think I would have done even better on Friday if I was before intermission. But we had some ferry stuff where I got caught up a little bit in some traffic and at the border. It was nobody's fault. If it was every travel was good, no issues. Um, but
Well,
I got there
you were hopeful of squeezing on the earlier ferry,
and
but they did not have standby like fans might, travelers might be used to, say, on, flying on a plane. You
well,
had
they
to
had
be there.
standby, but unfortunately I was standing by a little bit behind the line for that one, so I had to wait till the next one. So I was going to get there. I was going to get there eventually. It was just a
Right.
question of when. So
Well, you flew cross country, you drove 3 hours, you took a ferry ride, and then you drove to the venue. I think you
yep,
did the absolute best that you could be.
yes,
And that's
and it was
that's fantastic.
yes.
And one of the things that I've uncovered, and I'll get into this a little bit more in the coming weeks,
Mm-hmm.
is that with the pro wrestling, which by the way is taken off, and thanks to everybody who's ordered tickets already for Saturday, August the 9th, time honored excellence. We should do a separate episode just on the name, the origin, and what it means.
Yeah.
And our topic today is going to kind of tie into that. But one of the groups that has reached out to me was the local tourism board
Mm-hmm.
here in central Pennsylvania. And I've lived here for 12 years, be 13 years in August, in my house, and I was here 2 years before that. So I don't realize that there's touristy stuff to do, and they do try to attract out of towners, out of staters to come and visit the wineries, do the leaf peeping, beer garden, beer tip fests, all sorts of outdoor things all summer long.
Yeah, cool.
And there is, believe it or not, guys, promoters, there could be local money available for you
Mm-hmm.
for your promotion in the form of grants. Now, like I said, I have to learn more about it, but this group reached out to me and knew that, as they said, hey, wrestling fan, happy to see wrestling back in Carlisle. Um, we wanted to see, because we know you're going to draw fans from out of state, because we've got wrestlers coming from out of states all over. We wanted to talk to you about perhaps seeing if there's grant money available so that you could, in effect, visit cumberlandcounty.com or .org, as this is, um, because we're going to be drawing fans to the region.
Mm-hmm.
So promoters, do a little investigation. A simple 5-second online search is going to tell you if there is a local tourism board. And if so, let them know that, hey, we draw fans from out of the area. Would we be able to talk about perhaps finding out if there could be some cross promotional ideas? We're already on their website, and maybe it's just a drop in of a card in a touristy area or a rest stop or somewhere. Oh, look, wrestling. and especially if you run all the time. So I would say check that out, and I'll have more to report on that because I got a meeting with them coming up this Wednesday. I'm very excited about that. And on Tuesday, I'm meeting with the Radio Carlisle folks, which is the country stations in town, Red 102.3 and WIOO Country Gold, which as somebody who's a fossil like me, Bob, I love me some old country music on the AM radio
Oh boy.
because there is nothing like old country music on an AM radio. It takes me back to my childhood, back in the Dust Bowl era. Yes.
Hmm. They just
But
invented music 5 minutes before you showed up.
they did. And again, the cavemen had been banging the rocks together, and they found a way to record. Did you know that it was in Bristol, Tennessee that they started recording music? That was the first like music house and started making records in with country music in like the early 1920s.
Wow.
How about
No, I
that?
didn't. Yeah, there you go. Very
A lot
cool.
of history. Um, but one of the things that we were talking about, and we talk about this in every seminar recently. And if I'm a little cockeyed, I apologize. I went back and I rewatched last week's episode, which if you missed it, boy, it was awesome. There's a ton of information in it. Bob said it was one he was the most proud of, thought it was our best one to date. I was dissatisfied with my technical performance. So I'm trying to do something here where I've got a little bit more of a stable holder for my phone. But
Hmm.
anyway, one thing that we talk about frequently in camps now in our seminars is we as wrestling coaches, teachers, we have to tell you, we have to give you the bad news. We have to tell you things that you may not want to hear, and we have to point you in a direction. Otherwise, we're just old guys yelling at clouds.
Hmm.
The direction that we see collectively, because there is, again, wrestling is very much sameness. In the 70s and 80s, wrestling was the same. There were regional varieties. There was a little bit more ha and pots and pans and things like that in certain regions, a little bit more punch kick territories. Some were predicated a little bit more on wrestling, depended on who the top guy was. Like, for example, pre Dusty Rhodes babyface turn in 1974, Florida was known as the wrestling territory. They always had the best wrestlers. They predicated themselves on the best wrestling. And that's why Jack Briscoe was developed to become the NWA World Heavyweight Champion from there. Of course, when Dusty came in, Dusty was much more of an emotion guy, much more of a punch kick guy. Houses went up, but the style changed. And that's
Yeah.
just the way it is. Charlotte, the Carolinas, Crockett territory used to be tag teams. George
Yep.
Scott got the book and became much more of a singles territory. Memphis was always predicated on feuds. Personal issues draw money. Um, so what we have seen is that it's time for that style for the 70s and 80s to now make a comeback because of the people who are in charge, the decision making people. If everybody's goal is to get to WWE ID, and we know who the guy who's buying the groceries there, it's Triple H, and we know the kind of wrestling that he likes because he's told us, and it's the older territory stuff.
Right.
So this is what we suggest wrestlers need to do. But Bob, your point that I hadn't even thought of is that there is going to be a lot of pushback and there is going to be resistance, not just from those that we tell, but also their peers and other promoters, because wrestling seems to just follow trends, and what one guy is doing, that's what we have to do as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's basic psychology too, Kevin. I think the issue is that it happens in every field, and all the mentors I'm listening to online are telling you the same thing. If you just keep doing what if you people always say if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get where you're going to get. But it's also if you emulate people that are kind of around the same, and I get it, it's a security issue. You and I talked about this with job changes and what the future holds, and pushing out and trying to
Hmm.
build out this wrestling universe of our own where we can make it subsist. And Kevin and I both have regular jobs, but the idea is to make this at least a very healthy second income where we can breathe a little bit on the other end. We're all chasing bills, we're all chasing, the bills come, like Austin says, these gimmicks come every month, so um but this, and I've said it so many times, and I have a feeling this is going to be one of my things I say all the time, but this is the harder path. This is the one that, and that's why it's been so rewarding at the same time. And that's why I think we've had explosive growth over the last 6 months, because it's the harder thing to do. And as many people as we tell them to do it, very few people are willing to do it. We can't get people to pick up a phone. We can't get people to, um, pick up a phone, to either answer the phone or call people. We can't, message 10 promoters. Here, I'll give you a free t-shirt. If you message 100 promoters in the next 2 weeks, I'll give you a free t-shirt. People, I still haven't given away any shirts. The
Right.
issue is, and we are going to get pushback because they're going to be like, well, you just want the guys to do, less, or put on wool trunks and sit in headlocks. And I'm like, I don't know what you're used to doing, but I went back and I've watched. Yeah, I mean, Iron Mike Sharp wasn't, by the time I was watching Iron Mike Sharp, he was basically an enhancement guy in the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and big bulky guy who didn't move that fast, but he could work, and he knew what to
Hmm.
do, and he knew how to get the baby face over. And I saw some earlier matches of Mike Sharp, and he could move just fine. And he was a deceptively big person. He's one of the people where you talk about the deceptively big people. I think he's right up there with Mick Foley and Bob Holly as the most deceptively, like, tall and big people you'll meet in wrestling. But I grew up on I grew up on a lot of the same stuff Kevin did. I'm a couple years after him, but I watched tons of WWF. But as soon as I could, I watched Crockett, and I watched Ric Flair and the Rock and Roll Express and Barry Windham, and the Midnight Express and the Road Warriors, and they were all. I mean, maybe on TV when they did squash matches, they slowed it down a little bit, but they were always moving, and there was always action, and yeah, people would sell and beat the guy up and work to make a hot tag, but it certainly wasn't sitting on your ass and doing nothing. And I just want people to do chin locks. No, we concentrate a lot on chin locks at my seminars because people don't know how to work chin locks, and
Right.
people don't know how to even pull somebody's hair as a heel to get the baby face back in position. I showed that to the Vancouver Island kids, and you would have thought I taught them, here's a new version of water, here's a new version of oxygen. Like they
Yeah.
were, and it's nobody's fault, by the way. It's not their trainer's fault. It's not their fault. If they're never shown, then I said, because they did the thing that I absolutely hate, and I know you hate it too, when they do the kind of the three elbows and they're about to run, and then the heel just double grabs the hair and just back bumps them. And I was like,
Hey.
that's a blatant break of the rules. And plus, it's so they take a hard bump with it, and it just looks like a move, and it's just going to look like a
Right.
move to the people. It doesn't look like cheating. So the other way is that the heel's about to come up, the babyface is about to come up, and the heel goes behind the referee's back, pulls the hair, and keeps the hands real close together. So the people see it, and they see the tell, and they see the magic that we show them, but the referee doesn't see it because you can just turn around and cheat. You don't even have to tell the referee. Just I used to tell referees all the time, if I cheat, you're not going to see it, so don't worry about it. You don't have to look for it.
Hmm.
So, and if I want you to catch me, I'll just have you catch me. But if you're not taught this stuff, you don't know. And this, by the way, this stuff's tough to learn. It's when you, and then what happens
Well,
is, and this happens,
it's tough to learn. Excuse me, let me jump in. It's tough to learn because there's not a television show that
right?
features it. We
Yep.
wondered how, because it in the enhancement era of wrestling television, how did the guys learn how to work a certain style? And in WCW and NWA, a lot of times the guys would be trained very minimally
Yep.
by Mike Jackson, and again had very little time with them, and then he just needed bodies to come to TV. And boy, you could just tell that these guys were brand new, and some were worse than others. But the ones that were kind of like rotten because they were new, they at least had a fundamental understanding of
Yep.
what wrestling was in that time because they had watched it on television and they wanted to be wrestlers.
Mhm.
Now, television is completely different. The shine in WWE is all the video packages and the
Yep.
entrance. They generally start with the heat and then they go to the finish. This way they can do in 4 to 6 minutes what would normally take 10 to 12.
Right.
And we can get more advertisers, we can get more stars, we could get more movement, we could go segment to segment without
Yep.
having longer matches.
Hmm.
So that's the reason why it's it's difficult to pick up because we the modern wrestler, we don't have a frame of reference. We don't know what this is, and that's why when you say it's like showing people what air is or what water is, they're agape. They're like, "What? Yes, this is the way wrestling used to be." And boy, isn't it easier and doesn't it make sense logically to do these types of things? And then you see the buy-in, it's like, "Yes. Okay, now go do it." Well, that's the hard part because it takes time.
Yeah, and they also it's kind of like when you go and you've been involved with these, I have too. You go to like one of these kind of motivational talks, so you go to like a revival or
Oh yeah.
something in the wood, in the woods for a couple of days and team building and all that. And oh man, we're going to change everything. And then you go back and pretty much everything kind of stays the same. Sometimes you change,
Hmm.
but pretty much stuff you need repetition and you need proof. And that's one of the reasons why the pro wrestling is going to be not just a pet project, but a major project for us because we feel like we can truly offer an alternative live product. Now, I said live. We're going to have video people there. We're going to have people taping it, but I'm going to tell you that I don't know what it'll look like. I don't know what it'll look like on TV because we're basically going to be playing to the live crowd. It's and it doesn't mean it's going to be a bunch of silliness and foolishness and just crowd play. I really want to stress that, but it's going to be a lot more fan interaction. The crew at Vancouver Island, they did a nice job of working the people. The two guys I worked with were awesome at getting me over. Good heels got me over. There was a young man, Evan, especially on Sunday. Scott, the gentleman I worked with on Friday, he was an old hand. He had been wrestling for a while, I could tell, and he took real good care of me. But this kid Evan was a brand new, probably a year or two in, scared to death, teenage guy, and just did his absolute best with the limited experience that he had. And you could tell he was scared. It was kind of a feel the fear and do it anyway moment, which was nice. And just did a wonderful job of getting me over. And then I did what I hoped, what people have done for me. I took a little bit of my money and I acted, I gave him a little piece of money at the end and I bought him dinner. I said, young man, you did a hell of a job and I want you to be rewarded for it. So, and he was very touched by that. And I said, well, when you do a good job, when you go above and beyond and there's money to be given away, you should try to bonus people when you can. So and I know it's not always possible,
Nope.
but you can at least thank them and appreciate them and all that. But I was fortunate where I could hack off a little slice of money and give them at least some, sandwich money home or pizza money home
Yeah.
or whatever. So,
Our
you know,
friend Casey Thompson on the In Ring Wrestling podcast that I do on Sundays with him, he
shout
tells
out
the
to Casey.
story.
Shout out to
What up,
Casey.
Casey? Happy belated birthday to Casey Thompson. He's
Yes.
29 again. Um,
Oh,
but he tells the story about doing enhancement work for WCW, and Sid Vicious, always wanted to work with him, Casey, because he knew Sid did that Casey could take his moves and knew how to
right.
do different things, the whirly bird, the power bomb, all the things that Sid liked to do in these enhancement situations. And there was a time where I think it was both him and Rob Van Dam, Casey and Rob put Sid over in a situation, and Sid came back to them and said, "Hey, it's not much, but it's all the cash I have. Here's $20." And he gave them $20 each. And just get yourself some dinner, buy a couple of beers, whatever. Just thank you for that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a forgotten, so you hear all the stories about Sid and what a crazy man he was and this, that, the other. No, he was one of the boys, and he knew what was up, and he took care of the people that took care of him, just like that, Bob. And you didn't know that story, and you didn't do it because Sid did it. You did it because you have a good heart and because you were taught the right way. And that's what we do. We take care of those who take care of us.
And it was and also I remember a story, and this is fairly recently, a couple of years ago, where Bobby Lashley had to beat up a lot of the TV extras and things like that, and it was this big where he had to like blow through everybody and just everybody had to take big bumps for him, and he came back and he was looking for the guys, and he's like, "Where's this guy? Where's that guy? Where's the guys that were in that segment?" And they thought they were going to chew his ass out, and they thought he was going to chew their asses out, and it ended up he's like, "What's your Venmo? You guys did a great job," and I think he threw him like $100 a piece.
Nice.
So, um, because he thought that, again, they went above and beyond. It's one of the reasons why you go above and beyond when you can,
Yeah.
and don't do it for the money. Do it because you're doing the right thing.
Hmm.
And young people that are trying to be heels on a live wrestling show that needs heels on it really should be rewarded. So,
Right.
um, and again, we're going to try to create that environment. We're not going to try to recreate anything. I will also stress that this is not a throwback.
Nope.
It is not a parody. We're not going to have people in Zubaz pants and mullets. And I think and I'm not going to sound like I'm some hoity-toity pretentious prick, but a lot of times I find that to be very insulting because those people drew a million times more money than you did. And I'm not talking about people doing cosplay and having fun. That's not what I'm talking about. But people that do that, oh, we're going to do a throwback show and everybody's wearing mullets and weird mustaches and all that. And I'm like, okay, fine. Adjust that for inflation. They can buy your house 16 times over again. So
Right.
maybe have a little bit more respect. And it Macho Man didn't draw big money because he went, oh yeah, and had a funny hat. He drew money because he knew how to work. And you and I, was it? No, it was me and Andy Moshpit. We just watched the match. It was a primetime wrestling match. It was one of those dark matches on that they put on the end of the Coliseum video, and it was Macho Man and Bret Hart versus Flair and Michaels, and you could tell it was 18 minutes on the fly. Let's call the finish. Macho Man takes the heat, hot tag to Bret. That's all you need to know. Here's the finish, and that's it. And it was music. It was awesome, and I was trying to show Andy, look how Michaels is just feeding the baby face, because I'll do a lot
Hmm.
of drills in class where I have somebody come in and kind of blow a comeback, and then I'll just run people in from outside the ring to feed the baby face. Just because you're going to be doing that in tag matches, you should be feeding the baby face and make the baby face look awesome. Like that's, and you talked about it briefly. The Shine. The Shine isn't really a thing because it was so often cut for time because it's considered not that important. But in a live wrestling product, it is absolutely one of the most important things because it's your presentation of your your hero. Your hero
Right.
is that's boy, is that a big deal, and
Sure is.
if you don't have it, again, I tell people all the time, and Neil McDonough was on. You may not know who Neil McDonough is, but
Of course,
if
I
you
know
look,
who Neil McDonough is.
Cape Cod's own. I just found
Don't
out.
get, don't really.
Yes, yeah, Boston born, Cape Cod raised, and turned down a minor league contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates to go into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Um, and his wife is 6'3", South African lady. He has 5 kids. But
Isn't he
Neil
like
was
5'2"? They must look weird.
well, I don't know if he's 5'2". I think he's 6'1". But
Okay.
if he was 5'2", they'd be in a different kind of movie, I think. Um, but he was for 10 years, and he said he had a lot of struggles with addiction and things like that. But for 10 years, he was the biggest heel in Hollywood. He was uh, he was just off a big run in Tulsa King where he was a heel there. Excuse me. He was on Justified as a heel. He was
Hmm.
Damien Dark on all the DC shows, Arrow and Flash and all those. Um, and now he's a babyface. He's doing a lot of stuff for Angel Studios. and now he's heroic in that stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, but it brought I made he talked about Tulsa King, and Tulsa King, Sylvester Stallone's character is a throwback because Sylvester Stallone almost never he will look bad through his own doing. Like he will take responsibility for his own actions. He screwed up before, doesn't have a great relationship with his family, that kind of stuff, personal stuff. But as far as kicking ass, Sylvester Stallone is not going to get his ass kicked when he's the number one babyface on the show.
Right.
When he's so, and I know how can a mobster be a babyface, but they tell a nice story that makes it all make sense. Um,
Hmm.
and it ends up being it's a great show. I think I think some people don't like it. I think it's a great show, and our friend Cashflow is on it too. So, um, but it's one of these shows that show is kind of what we're trying to do because it's basically Cobra and Rambo and Rocky and all that stuff where the character might have flaws, but they're almost never going to look bad. And if they look bad, they will rise and kick butt at the
Right.
end. So
People are going to know watching the pro wrestling. They're going to know who the good guy is. They're going to know who the bad guy is.
yes.
And they will wrestle accordingly. And they will take the fan on a logical progression of storytelling, each a little different, but it will culminate in that moment of truth where
Mhm.
either the baby face or the heel win, where the fans won't know. The fans will hope, but they won't know who is going to win based upon the actions in the ring until the very end. And it's done not with parlor tricks, smoke and mirror, production value, big bumps, any run-ins, interference, any of that stuff. It's going to be done with logic-based wrestling. The babyface will focus on the head and the left arm, and one or the other. And the heel will also pick a body part, generally the back or the middle or the side or something. But they will always get back to where they were, especially in the beginning. And through that logical sense of progression, it'll either be the heel slipping on a banana peel, foisted by his own petard,
Good.
and or whatever. Yes, thank you. And lose in cowardly fashion. He had the victory. He had all the money, and he threw it all away. Another great Bobism. Or he will exert one final level of cheating and will be able to pull out a controversial yet satisfying to him victory in front of a jeering audience. And I have stressed this. And when I've talked to the local media types, the marketing people, the people who know what local people like here in central Pennsylvania, they're like, oh my gosh, family friendly wrestling that's kind of like based in good versus evil. Yeah, it's going to do really well because that's what people like. And I don't care where you are, there are a lot of people in underserved markets, both big and small, who haven't seen wrestling in a long time like this, and it's going to be brand new to them. But at the same time, it doesn't matter where you come from. If this is the first time seeing wrestling or if you've been a lifelong fan, when you see good versus evil, you'll understand it. If you
Right.
put a space alien or somebody from deepest, darkest Africa in front of a television and you show them a Popeye cartoon and then ask them in their native language who was the good guy and who was the bad guy, they will know that Popeye was the good guy and Bluto was the bad guy. Popeye
Mm-hmm.
good, Bluto bad. And that's what wrestling is. And that formula, as if don't look at formula as a pejorative, look at formula as programming. That's what we're doing to the audience. We're getting them to react accordingly in a logical way. And by doing so, it's us controlling the narrative. It's us putting forth the story that we want to put forth. But it's hard, Bob. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. And that's our topic for today. This has just been the setup. But this is freaking hard. The hard work begins now for everybody
Yep.
that we work with in these seminars.
Right.
So I wrote
No.
something last night, early this morning, on the Facebook, as it's known by
Yes.
the kids.
I'm going
And
back to it right now.
yeah, and it started with me scrolling through Instagram. Excuse me. And I follow a lot of motivational people on Instagram, and be they Christian based, faith based, whatever, just straight motivational guys like Alex Hormozy and others. And I always find little nuggets of truth and connective tissue to wrestling, to what we're doing. A lot of coaches in football, who say the same things that we do. So there was a
Right.
video that it was probably 2 or 3 minutes long, and it featured a lot of speakers basically telling everybody that this is hard and that's why you should do it. You're going to be alone when you do it. You're going to wonder why you're doing it, but in the end, you'll be successful because you did it. So I gave kind of 5 points, and I don't have it accessed on my screen because I'm doing it here on my phone. Bob's working off of his computer. So, Bob, if you could, what was the first point that I made?
Yeah, I'm all of a sudden I can't find it. Give me a sec.
Oh,
I don't I don't know what's going on.
it was um,
Yeah, I know all
and
about
it's
it. I
on
just
my
it went away.
Kevin Kelly fan page. If you want to give me a follow on Facebook, just type in, Kevin Kelly and wrestling on Facebook, and you'll
That's where
find
I'm
my
gonna
page.
go. That's where I'm gonna go right now.
And
6,800 followers. That's pretty good.
not bad, right?
Not bad at all.
It's grown from like 4,700 to now 6,800. I didn't even know that number until you just told me.
Well,
It's
you said
grown
you were getting close to seven. Said you were getting close to
yeah,
7,000. So,
from 4,700 to now almost 7,000 in 5 months.
all right. So,
So
you want me to read the post?
please.
So, Bob Evans and I talk about this very thing all the time in our seminars. This is you writing, not me. Young
Mhm.
wrestlers, stop following the trends. Embrace the fundamentals, and you will stand alone. One reason I'm starting my own promotion is to show that those of us who believe in the cornerstone principles are not crazy. Do what others are not willing to do. Number one, educate yourself in the foundations. Number two, believe in them and in yourself. Number three, slow down and let it breathe. Number four, when they are ready, you will know. And number five, let others know where you stand with your actions. So those are some nice principles to live by there. I think you could even do the one before number one where it says do what others are not willing to do. That could almost be one by itself, you know?
Yeah, it really could be. And
Yeah.
and again, educate yourself in the cornerstone foundations of wrestling. That's what we're talking about here in our setup to all of this. That you have to know what it is that you are supposed to do. So how do you learn? Well, Bob, uh, we have this, if only there was a way to be able to watch old historical, documentation of professional wrestling. Um, again, if there was only some site that had the ability for young wrestlers to be able to go back and study wrestling from another time and place. If we could do that, there
I
you
just
go,
put it in the
Bob.
chat for you.
There you go. That's excellent. Okay, great.
Yeah.
If only there was such a thing. There is. It's freaking called YouTube. And who
YouTube,
do
and
we
there's a
see?
ton of stuff on Daily Motion too.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff. I just found out, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted actually to mention this before I forgot again, because I was going to mention it to you. Tubi has a ton. I don't know if this is our friend Joe doing this. The announcer, Joe with the
Dombrowski
glasses, Dombrowski. So I don't know
with
if
the
this is Joe
glasses.
work with the face. We're all wearing glasses. It could be me, Joe Evans, Joe Bob Evans. But I don't know if this is Joe working something out with people or whatnot, or if it's somebody else. But there is a ton of kind of best of territory compilations on Tubi for free.
Joe has
So
invested heavily in this.
right. So I'm because I assuming it was his deal. So if you want to jump in and give Joe a couple of pennies, do that, and
Yep.
the people that he works with, because I know he does a lot of stuff on consignment. He does a lot of deals with people. But there is a
He's worked with Les Thatcher, for example, on the I know just on the Brian Pillman tribute shows.
Mhm.
Uh, so and Les gets paid out of that deal. So again, if Joe's getting reimbursed for this through us, then it will allow him to continue to find these libraries. And these are libraries that WWE may not be interested in. And
right.
now they've got a whole WCW channel on YouTube. So it's difficult to find clips of WCW. So you just have to kind of go to the source, which is their masters,
Yep.
which is great video content. It's easily available, and they've put together that vault, and it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and that's where it shouldn't matter where stuff is going to be on Peacock and all this stuff if it starts showing up on YouTube, and then they've managed to slip in a lot of the Mid South stuff. A lot of the territory stuff they haven't really picked on too much. So we'll don't bring it to their attention. Don't give
Right.
them copyright strikes. Just but yeah, there's a ton of stuff to watch and a ton of stuff to borrow from. And
Yep.
again, it was so funny. I shared it yesterday. It was some of the NCAA Division One softball players from today, 2025, watching um, the softball championships, the softball World Series from 1982, and they were watching clips and they were
Mm-hmm.
showing how much stuff had changed, but they weren't they were really actually mostly complimentary because there were a lot of, and it just shows the difference between men and women anyway, but um they were very deferential to the people that came before them. And I think sometimes we look at their hair, look at the way the people were dressed, and well, back in the day, that was cool.
Yeah.
It might look nerdy to you now, but back then it was cool as hell. And all these people had boyfriends and girlfriends, and they had an active dating life, so they were
Yeah.
fine. Um,
Trust me,
but
in 25 years, everybody today they're going to look and go, "What the heck was that guy, girl wearing? What were they thinking about?"
or it'll just come back. I mean,
Yeah.
my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, and all her friends wear basically high-waisted mom jeans now that they would have been aghast, not them, but the teenagers before them would be aghast at wearing, and now they're all wearing them, and they all wear the crop tops. And again, it all kind of comes back. So um don't don't concentrate on the look as much as what are they doing? What are they doing differently? Why does this, it's just as phony, if not phonier than it is now. Why does it look more real?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the presentation? Is it the way they're talking about it? My guess is yes and yes. My guess is also the way they took it seriously. There wasn't as much social media and things like that. And by the way, Kevin and I are we're not I'm not new to social media, but Kevin's starting to use it to his advantage. And
Yep.
we want you to be a huge part of social media. We realize it's a necessity. It's not recommended anymore. It's absolutely a necessity. You need it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do business, so use it to your advantage, but that doesn't mean you have to expose everything. Even this is all the people that show all these like magic tricks exposed and all that. They show you one little trick. They don't show you the whole hour. So they show you one little trick to get you interested in magic to go, oh, so that's how they do that. That's cool. I want to learn how to do it myself. I want to learn how to do more. The Netflix thing, I said it before, the Netflix thing, whatever Triple H is going to expose, quote unquote, expose to everybody, is going to be 1.5% more stuff. And they're going to blow it up and make it seem like he's telling them everything. They're not telling you anything. They can manipulate you just like they always have. I remember Vince McMahon telling Kevin and others in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's just a new fan base to work. It's just a new fan
Mm-hmm.
base to manipulate and get them through the door. And it's funny that you mentioned the shorter matches and things like that because people always say they want more wrestling, but when wrestling took a big dip in the late 2000s, 2010s, they had more wrestling they had more wrestling matches and more stuff, longer matches on Raw and SmackDown than they ever did, and people were tuning it out. They were leaving. They were saying, and
Yep.
people complained. They complain about AEW all the time. Oh, 20-minute matches, 25-minute matches. Well, do you want matches or not? And it's so funny because people don't seem to really know what they want. I think for a live experience, they want between 6 and 15-minute matches, and they want a lot more closer to the 6 than they do want the 15.
Let me tell you something. No matter what the main event was of a WCW Clash of Champions, or everybody remembers Sting versus Ric Flair, 45 minutes. Okay, great, but that was thrilling content. Um, there were some of those pay-per-views where you sat through, the Fabulous Freebirds versus the Young Pistols. No disrespect to anybody in the ring, but me in the live crowd watching couldn't cared less about it and just
Right.
wanted it to get over.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that everything back then was celebrated and loved and the babies were flying in the air, as Jim Cornette says. Sometimes they were just matches. It was what it was, and it set the table for the main event.
Well,
People
did you
weren't
watch that? Sorry to interrupt, but it plays to your point. That Omni show, that house show that they put up where they
yeah,
don't have the Flair and Wyndham. They said we don't have the Flair and Wyndham time limit draw or long match or whatever it was. We're still looking for it. We may
yep,
locate it, but we don't have it yet. And I remember they had a cool, very cool throwback poster of the whole card of what they had. And there had to be 9 or 10 matches on there. And then I'm watching the vault and it's like 68 minutes long. And I'm like, this can't be right.
nope,
And every match was under 10 minutes. Every match. And they included the introductions. They didn't necessarily include them walking to the ring, but sometimes they did. And
yeah,
I
because
think the
they
longest,
didn't have entrance music. So first the heel would walk to the ring, and the people would stir and then boo, and then the babyface would come out, usually with no music,
right.
and they would stir, cheer, and then we'd have the intros.
Yeah. And I was surprised how quick some of the matches were. In fact, there was one, Bob Armstrong and somebody where it was 10 seconds long or 30 seconds long because
Bob Bob was a Atlanta. Bob Armstrong, of course, was an Atlanta mainstay for years. So he would work on the undercards of Omni events and was still wildly popular. So when he won, and we only got to see the very end, or the
oh,
match itself was 10
it was the
seconds.
whole match. The
It
whole
was
match
ding
was a
ding
minute.
ding. Oh, I always thought that that was a pull up. I thought they cut out even if it was
No,
short. Okay.
he got jumped. I think it was Jimmy Garvin actually when he was gorgeous Jimmy Garvin. He got
Yep.
jumped. He got beat up in the corner, one duck, finish, 1, 2, 3. That was it. And he got in
Georgia
and got out.
Jawjacker and see you later.
Yeah, I think it was my guess is they were nervous about time. And granted,
Yeah.
if you add an hour draw between Flair and Wyndham with all the pomp and circumstance, it's a 2.5 hour show.
Yep.
But think about almost all the rest of the matches were as long as the Flair and Wyndham match. So, I mean, obviously edited for time. I mean, edited for the in between was edited out. They went right
Right.
to the next match, fade in, fade back, fade out, fade back in. But it was, I was surprised because, you're used to the pay-per-views or the Great American Bash compilations where they're going 12, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes longer. And then you see the house show, and the house show is because they just filmed it. I don't think it was anything. They never aired it. It
Nope.
was just filmed. Um, and there was some of the matches. I mean, I think the first match was Bill Dundee and Dutch Mantel or one of those, a kind of an underneath match. And that was 4 minutes. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't, and they pretty much had everything in it. It just they didn't hang around. They just
Okay.
didn't.
So two things that Bob has said that I want everybody to make note of. Number one, wasn't a pay-per-view, it was a house show.
Right.
And house show style is kind of what we're talking about. Okay.
Yep.
Number two, early matches are short. Now, if Bill Dundee versus Dutch Mantel in Memphis
Yes.
was the main event, you would get 20, 25 plus minutes of up and down, hair on fire action. It would be incredible. But on the undercard of an Omni event in Atlanta, 4 minutes because of where they are on the card. Bob Armstrong versus Jimmy Garvin was the opener. 10 seconds bell to bell. Jimmy was probably firing the people up and was gesturing or maybe on the mic, but I'm sure running the bullet down. Ding, 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 and you get a quick finish. That's the way our show is going to be paced. Not to that extent, but we might have a 10-second match. Who knows?
Yeah.
But the idea of the undercard being of limited quantity, not quality, to leave more on the table for the main event is exactly what we're doing. One of the things, and this is not a knock on AEW, but this is current style. Current style is everybody goes out and steals the show. And a lot of times AEW, at least twice, has had Will Ospreay in the opener of a big show, and he goes out there and kills it, and his opponent kills it. And it's like, well, what's left? That's what I'm thinking as a producer, as somebody
Mm-hmm.
who is going to be laying out these matches. And the boys in the back, I know, are saying, how do we follow that?
Right.
And that's why the crowd can get burned out. But that's today's style. That's the wrestling that Tony Khan wants to produce. And he's got the guys that can do it because they're amazing. They're incredible. But that is not house show style.
No.
House show style is 5-6 minute undercard matches, maybe 10 to 12 in the middle, and your main event is 20.
Mm-hmm.
We
About
could
right.
talk like this forever, by the way. So do we want to put a pin in this and bring back part 2 next week? What do we want to
Yes.
do?
I would like to do that because I have some engagement, some family stuff that I want to deal with in a good way. And we
Speaking of
will
which, congratulations to Robert Evans the fourth,
third.
third, for his award ceremony last night. Bob's son Robbie cleaned up at the scholarship banquet and was awarded a nice chunk of change for his continuing education at Bridgewater State.
Very good. Yes,
Yep.
Bridgewater State University. Yeah, he did great. I didn't even go. I went to work because we didn't think it was going to be a big thing. Nobody really knew what it was. We had very low expectations. He probably knew he was going to get his perfect attendance award, but big deal. I mean, not big deal, big deal to him, but not big deal overall in the world. But then he got something for helping out at school, and then something for being getting good grades all 4 years and that kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of thing. Yeah, 3 scholarships adding up to a couple of $1,000, which is great. And yeah, real proud of him. That's what we're doing this weekend. As I focus on family stuff, you focus on work stuff, and you added something to your schedule. As a matter of fact,
It's amazing. Again, I was all set and ready to go with the Pittsburgh area super camp tomorrow. That is going to be a home run. Rise Wrestling is hosting it at the Uniontown Mall. And if you've heard about it, if you've seen the post on social media, and for whatever reason you haven't signed up yet, I don't know if you can get in. I haven't been told that it is officially sold out yet, but I think that there will be some stragglers let in, some last minute Charlies, or some people who may have said, hey, I'll pay the day of, which is totally fine. It's great.
hmm
There's going to be at least 35 guys there and 4 coaches, and we're going to get all this done somehow between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. at the Uniontown Mall. I'm like, no way, we're going late. Um, but it's going to be a comprehensive all-day seminar, in-ring promos, character development, critiques, matches, drills, you name it. It's a chance for everybody that signed up to show what you know. And I'm going to have my notebook out, and I'm going to be taking notes of names and phone numbers of people who we would want to present on our shows, because I guarantee you I'm going to see people I've never seen before,
Yep.
and I'm going to say, what about this guy? And they're going to go, we've never seen this side of him or her before. It's amazing. It's like the light came on all of a sudden. Um, so we'll do that. Then Sunday, I've been added to what a lineup this is in Ashland, Kentucky for our pal Dave Harmon. He's got a big extravaganza coming up Sunday night, and I'm going to be doing commentary for the event. And Carmen Michael is going to be doing, he's my sidekick on this one. So it'll be the first time I
Yes.
get to work with him, and I'm really excited about that. On
Fantastic
the
young
card,
announcer.
yeah, he's like a peer of Walker Stewart's, and we know how
Yes.
great Walker is. And
Yes.
congratulations to Walker for his new role um, as in Stardom Wrestling. So Stardom Pro Wrestling
Yes.
has got a good one in Walker Stewart, continuing to do commentary and now also helping with the global ambassador, PR, all the things that they need just to get the word out for
Hmm.
Stardom. Um, so congratulations to Walker. Doing commentary with Carmen, and I'll be calling matches that involve Eugene, Nick Dinsmore, Rob Conway, so a pair of OVW mainstays from the big two
Yes.
of the pillars, NWA, former NWA champion and TNA, Chase Stevens, who is
Nice.
another great talent from that area. Jillian Hall, another OVW alum who had some
Hmm.
time in WWE. And just for looking at the poster, I'm trying to see it's going to be a big night of wrestling. So just look up, wrestling Ashland, Kentucky this weekend. If you're anywhere in the region, it's in a Shrine Auditorium in Ashland, Kentucky. And Dave Harmon is promoting it. It's going to be a huge show. There's going to be autographs. There's going to be all kinds of things for you to do. Plus a great night of pro wrestling with pros who know what they're doing. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up right now so I can, you know, let's
I
see.
just know I need to be there at 4 o'clock. So
I
so the
just,
Pittsburgh
yeah,
Super Camp has got to end sometime because it's about 4 hours from Pittsburgh to Ashland. So in case we do run into Sunday, I just got to finish by like noon so I
I
can
gotta
get to
work, man.
Ashland on time. I got to work. I got a show to call.
I gotta work, dude.
Carmen Michael had better bring notes too, because I've been busy this week and I haven't had time to sit down and study these things. I mean, I'll walk around and the day of and sit down with everybody who I don't know and find out a little bit about them, which every announcer should be doing. Hey, I haven't had a chance to study your work. Give me 3 things that I need to know about you.
Oh yeah, we have, yeah, big lineup. Let's see here. You look at all the pictures here. We have, oh yeah, lots of people. Lots of people. Uh
What's the promotion
Hobo
name?
Hobo Hobo Joe.
Hobo Joe.
That's right, Hobo Joe.
He's a PWO alum. I haven't seen
ECC
Hobo Joe in
ECC
15 years.
Wrestling. Yeah, ECC Wrestling.
ECC.
Hobo Joe, Eugene with Sleep and Casey King.
Yep.
Uh,
Casey King. I know that name.
yep, RC Dupree and Anthony Katina. We know Anthony from up here.
We do.
And yep, Larry D versus Icon Lee. So D versus Lee. So
And
please, done my
please,
best to Larry. Introduce yourself, obviously.
I will. I'm going to find out, if the cops ever showed, what
Oh
happened
yeah,
when
that's
Larry
right.
D was
If
trapped
you
in the
ever
cage.
ask him if he ever got out of the cage. Valerie Verman versus Reese Ramon. Don't know them, but they look like fine young women. And you're there too, ready to do a run-in. So there's a lot of
That
yeah, a lot of very
Vermin,
cool talent.
she's from the Vermin family, and they're not good people. So I have a
Now,
feeling that Valerie Vermin and I are not going to get along.
now is it the Vermin family? Now, do we refer to them as the Vermin or the Vermins when we talk about the Vermin family?
Well, again, sheep versus sheeps. I'm going to go with vermin singular but collective as perhaps an accurate way to describe them. However, much like as we found when we were in college, we found a mailbox, um, and the last name on the mailbox was Blue. So we went over and we knocked on the front door and we asked if this was the home of the Blues. And the old woman that answered the door said yes. And we said, well, there you have it, folks. Undeniable proof that it's not, the Mississippi Delta or the Crossroads. It's right here in
Right here,
Florida,
the home of the Blues.
the home of the
Where
Blues.
Jacob and Eli home.
They were inside.
Nice.
They were inside playing the
Were they
video game.
singing? They were playing video, playing Fortnite.
Yeah. This was
So
1986. So they would have been playing uh, Super Mario. No, Nintendo?
Atari, ColecoVision.
Activision. That's it.
So,
Oh,
all right. So,
got a cramp in my leg.
wonderful. So as we wrap up everything, uh, Kevin is going to leave us with some fame. I've been leaving people with famous words. Kevin will now leave us with some famous words. And Kevin, those words are.
I'm not as good at this as you are, Bob, but if I had some famous words to say, I would say that the Boy Scouts took all the tickets.